Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Crestani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I am joined by Hans Wilhelm. He is a mystic, author, and illustrator of over 200 books for all ages, including some together with Byron Cade. His books have sold over 40 million copies and are translated into 30 languages. For more than 13 years, Hans has created over 170 short YouTube videos in which he visually explains the spiritual laws of the universe. In these videos, you can watch him drawing the dynamics of these laws and see how all the dots connect. This absolutely unique visual representation has made his videos so successful that they have been watched by 20 million viewers. The videos are also available for free on www.lifeexplained.com, and we'll make sure to pop those details in the show notes. Han says that his wish is to inspire viewers to explore spirituality and to look at the bigger picture perspective of their life. When we see how everything fits together and there are no mistakes, we will begin to grasp perfection and the love that is the foundation of everything. So a big welcome to the show, Hans.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm delighted to be on your show. Nice to meet you. I'm happy
Nice
to
meet you
talk
too.
to you.
200 books. Wow. What inspired you to start writing, and how did you first learn or start to learn about the spirit laws?
Well, my writing is mostly for children. I have done for the last 30 years or so, or even more, 40 years. I've been writing and illustrating mostly for children around the world. So it's a different market altogether. It's not my spiritual interest. It's usually books about children and for children and young children, babies and toddlers and so on. So that added up very quickly to 200 because I enjoy doing it and I've done it for many, many years. But then certain things happened in my life where suddenly was sort of suggested to me to bring out what I have learned over the years on the spiritual path, because I've been a spiritual searcher and student for, oh God, for 60 years by now, and have learned a lot of different paths. And over the last 40 years, I have discovered, 40 years ago, I discovered a path which came through a woman in Germany. And she has given such a detailed spiritual explanation about everything that I was blown away, and it didn't match anything what I've learned before. I mean, it did match in some ways, but it was so new, it was so much deeper and so much clearer, and it was in today's language. I was a student of Edgar Cayce for many years, and Edgar Cayce is very difficult to read, and so is Rudolf Steiner and some other guys which have written 100 years ago their books. But today it's in today's language, and I loved the material. I learned how to apply the various spiritual laws in my life, and I saw the changes. And I have now made these little short videos in which I basically visually show and use how, for instance, the law of karma works. Somebody hits somebody and that gets registered in the stars and so on, and eventually in the Akashic record and comes back to the sender, etc. And that's how the law of karma works. But when you see it visually, it becomes much clearer than we would just talk about it. So my idea was to share these things. I'm not a teacher. I merely share what I understand at the moment. And anybody who likes it is fine, and those who do not like it or can't work it, that's fine too. I have zero interest to convince anybody that what I understand is true. It is true for me, and it may be true for someone else, because I just let your heart guide you. Whatever your heart tells you, whether this, what I share in my videos or in our conversation here, works for you or not.
Yeah, I love to say, take what resonates, compost the rest.
That's good. Yeah.
Oh, but I love that you're taking that visual aspect because um I read the Kybalion, right? So for anyone who's not sure what that is, like it's written it's very hard to get your head around. Very difficult. And they are the spiritual laws, the seven spiritual hermetic principles. But at the same time, I had to read it and reread it because you get lost in the wording, exactly like you said. But to have that visual representation, it just adds that extra level of understanding, right?
I agree. Yeah, it helps me. When I draw it out, it says, oh, this makes total sense. And I've been doing it now for 14 years or whatever, all these videos. And every time it makes more and more sense to me. And I didn't find any contradiction. Imagine there's a pathway you learn every day something new. and nothing and everything fits together. So I'm really very touched by the depth of the material. And you see all the blue books here in the back here. These are all revelations which came through Gabriele, the name of the woman in Germany, over the last 50 years. She has been giving us this material, and it's really amazing stuff. So I love it, and I'm happy to share it.
So, what has been one of the breakthroughs you've had in your life from putting these spiritual laws into a visual so you understand them, but also so you can share it to everybody else?
Well, I wasn't going to share my spiritual path with anybody else. I thought it's very private. I don't like anybody knocking at my door and trying to get me to become a Jehovah's Witness or anything like this. I don't want to be told what I have to believe. I want to explore it myself. But it was the following. It was when my father died, and he was in the last few days, and he was a total, not an atheist. He believed there was a God everywhere, but he believed that after death it would be over. He was a soldier in the Second World War, and he had seen so much death, and he thought, once I'm dead, it's over. So just before he died, I told him, look, that just in case you may still be around after death, let me tell you something, 10 things which probably will take place so that you're not surprised on the other side. So he smiled a little bit, and then a few days later, he died, not responding. He couldn't talk anymore. And I totally forgot about it. It was 5 years later, when I was in a bookstore, some stranger, young gentleman, came up to me and said, "Excuse me, my name is Roland Comtoy. I'm a medium. And when you entered the bookstore, your father came to me right away and says, 'Go to this man and tell him to thank him for what he told me.' Everything what I had told him was right, and it helped him so much on the other side." And then he says, he is now working at the moment at the receiving end of souls which have died. And he sees the continuous confusion of so many souls that have passed on and don't know what happens to them where they are. And he says, would you please write books about what I know and share it with other people? And I gave it some thought. And then told me also some other personal stuff, which I knew it was definitely my father. And I was totally surprised, but it made all sense. And then I thought about it. I won't make books anymore. I've written enough books. Also, the way I wanted to connect with young people. And at that time, YouTube was hot. It was before TikTok. So I decided to make little short videos because attention span of young people or older people as well is very short.
Yes.
So I made very short videos of 5 to 10, 15 minutes sometimes, in which I explained different subjects, reincarnation, karma, why the purpose of life, and so on. And if you go on my website or if you go to YouTube and just you punch in my name, Hans Wilhelm, you will immediately find my channel. And all these videos are free. I do not charge anything. I also don't sell anything. I just do this as something to share because it has been given to me. So it's just sort of my way to share a little bit because life has given a lot to me and I had a wonderful life. So it's a little bit way for me to give back.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. And I love that, um, well, the universe sent you that medium to pass on that message from your dad, right? I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities.
That was not that was not an accident. Yeah, it had to happen. So that's the reason why I finally came out of the closet of my spirituality and says, all right, I'm going to share this now. And the response was overwhelming.
Yeah. And I feel that's such a beautiful way that you've done that because so often people do like they'll push books to the side because they're like, oh, we don't have time or I don't have the space or I don't like reading. Whereas because you've created these shorts on YouTube, and I so agree with you, people don't have the attention span. I know for me on my YouTube, most of my shorts have like hundreds of views versus my episodes, which have like a handful because they're longer. But I was like, as long as the message is getting through somehow, that's fine. Whatever
Yeah,
works.
I think it's our ego is easily impressed by numbers. We want to reach 1,000 people and so on, but it's only our ego. Our higher self says you don't have to reach 1,000. If you reach one person only and change their life a little bit for the better, that's all you have to do. That's all your purpose here on life. And I found this very empowering and very helpful when sometimes those YouTube numbers are pretty low. It says, all right, hopefully there's one person who has benefited from it. But our ego easily wants to have the high numbers, and that's the mistake. Because then we also start selling out to whatever where our ego leads us.
Yes, 100%. And it's really interesting you bring that up. So these
Oh,
people put together these amazing event and they only had 2 people show up. But they thought, you know what? Whatever. We've put our all into it. We've had 2 people show up. Let's wow them and let's do what we need to do. One of those 2 people was so heavily connected that their business exploded the next week because they showed up how they were. They showed up and went, I'm going to do it anyway. And like you said, whether you touch one person or 1,000 people's hearts, whatever it is that you need to do to cause that shift, it's such a powerful impact. You don't know who's in the room. You don't know who's on the other side, and you don't know who you're always talking to or how connected they are. So, why not show up 100% as yourself and give your all if you can?
Yeah, and I'm reminding myself always of a wonderful story which was written by Dolores Cannon. She had lots of people, of course, speaking to her. She did past life regression. And the one story which I always remember was about this businessman who came back and says, when he came up to heaven, so to speak, um, there was the group of spirit beings who asked him, now look at your life, what have you done, what have you done? And he looked and says, "But did you do anything?" Well, he says, "Yeah, I gave a lot to charity. It was during the depression. I tried to keep my business going. I tried everybody to keep it work and so on." And basically, he felt I did a good job. And they all smiled and says, "Oh, that's not the main reason for what you did in your life." And he gave a lot of other things and so on, what he did, what he thought was good and so on. And then finally, somebody says, "Remember the bus stop?" And he said, "Bus stop? I never drove a bus. I always walked from my house to work, and I've never been in a bus stop." Just think again. And then slowly the story came that he remembered one day walking to his factory. He was passing a bus stop, and there was a woman sitting in there crying. And he just stopped and sat next to the woman and hold her in her arm for a little while, not this dialogue, just asking, just holding her and be with her. And then the bus came and the woman went onto the bus and he moved on. This moment was the most important moment of your life. That's the reason why you incarnated. And we mustn't forget it. Gabriele says it also. Sometimes we only incarnate to give one single smile to another person. That's all why we take it on ourselves to incarnate. It's our ego who wants all these big things, but our heart has got very different goals.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it's so true. Like, I was in a hardware shop near my house and I just smiled at this person because I smile at people because you never know what's going on. And I genuinely like to smile. And this person actually came up to me and she said, "Thank you for the first genuine smile I've had all day." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do with this situation because I wasn't expecting this." And I said, "Oh, I just smile at people because I never know." And she said, "Keep doing that. Thank you." And then she walked on. And, I always talk about you never know how you could land on people's lives, right? You never know the impact of that smile or holding the elevator door or holding a door open for somebody or waving someone into traffic. You never know the follow-on repercussions of how that can change or shift their day.
It truly does. There's another wonderful story. I forgot to source it, but she was also a young girl, teenager, wanted to commit suicide, and she planned it very carefully. On a certain day, she was going to commit suicide. She was very, very, very depressed. And on that one day, she went to school, and after school, she went home to commit suicide. She was absolutely certain, and she crossed the road. And as she was on the road, suddenly an SUV came and broke very close to her and got into brakes. And she looked up, and there she saw a woman driver were giving her the broadest and warmest smile. And that went right through her so much that everything shifted. And as you said, she just apparently did not do the commit as a suicide after that. It was this one smile. And what you're doing is just a perfect way. I wish we all could do that. I wish I remind myself to be more smiling.
My husband and I play this game. It sounds funny, but when we go for walks, we'll see how many people will smile and wave back because we're like, let's actually say hello to people and see what happens. And it's amazing how many people don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to respond. It's
Yeah.
like we've forgotten how to have a connection and we've forgotten how to connect with other people. We've just let it go.
Yeah, in the shop. I was recently in the shop buying something, and a lovely lady with 2 kids came out of the shop, and she smiled to me. "Hello, how are you doing?" And the first thing is, "Oh my God, who is this lady? Oh, I don't remember. I'm sorry." I says, Do I know?" I just felt that my memory lost me. "Who is she?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. I just said it. Wanted to say hello." But I immediately thought, oh my gosh, here my memory is going. I don't know where to put her. But she gave me a smile. Anyway, that can happen too.
Well, it's interesting because I do a lot of I do a lot of psychic work and things like that. And sometimes I get the same people call up and I'll remember them because spirit will give me the memory so I can piece together their story better. Anyway, and they get really unnerved that I remember them. And even my husband, he's currently driving taxis, and he'll say that when a passenger gets in and he asks them how they were going or how they went with whatever they were spoke about last time, they get really uncomfortable. And it's like, well, but you shared something. Why are you uncomfortable with having someone remember you? Like, why is that? Right. And then you go into that deeper kind of, wow, that's really weird. And my husband said it happens all the time because he's got a good memory. And if it's interesting, he'll remember it. So, and people don't know what to do with that connection too. And sometimes they'll share more with a stranger than they will with someone that
Yeah.
they think they're going to see
Yeah.
again as well.
Because so many people are lonely. That's a
Yes.
major problem. That's why they talk to somebody like a taxi driver or on a phone and so on, because they are basically lonely, have nobody to share anything. Loneliness, I think, is one of the major problem at the moment in the world.
It's so interesting because this is what I'm sharing in my life at the moment about loneliness.
Mhm.
And I actually share that loneliness isn't a bad thing. It's just an invitation to get to know yourself more. And it's when we're afraid to be alone with ourselves that's where the issues start to arise because we will make choices out of loneliness rather than facing ourselves.
I just gave an interview of somebody who is of a network which works for prisons only. And I remember there was a Rumi quote, which I now have not here. I'm just something like saying, I have taken everyone away from you, so you are alone, so I can be alone with you. This is what God says. I've taken everyone away from you, so I can be alone with you. Basically, what you say, it is our opportunity to go within and connect to the only permanent presence we always have, which is divinity, whether we call it Christ, God, or even our guardian spirit. We are never alone, ever. It's impossible in life to be alone. And if we connect with any of these three or all three together, can have a great conversation. I know it from myself because once I am in communicating with them, I learn a lot.
100%. I so agree. I actually value my alone time because I can just be me and just not have to, worry because I'm a mom. I don't have to worry about my child. I can just have that moment and connect where I need to connect. And once a few years ago, I was like, why don't I have any long lasting friends? And so I was in this group and I actually asked her and she channeled through this message and she said, sometimes we're not meant to have deep anchors and connections because we're not meant to stay where we are. And if you were really rooted and connected with that many people in that place, you won't get to do what you need to do so your soul can move on to the next level. And it's interesting because where I live now, we're ready to leave. Spirit has other plans. We're still here. I understand why, but all my connections and my friends are moving out of the area too. And I was like, the other day, I was like, oh my goodness. And I was sad and I was genuinely sad. And I just was allowed myself to be sad. And then I went, hang on a minute. I'm moving out. So why am I sad that all these other people are moving out? Because we all need to move on. It was just having that moment, and allowing that vulnerability to come through and remembering those words, which I'd forgotten until I was just talking to you, which is sometimes we're not meant to anchor ourselves in places because we need to move to the next place.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah. But you use the word, I cherish my alone time. Once you understand aloneness, it's not loneliness. They're two different things. Loneliness is our mind interpreting the situation and feeling isolated. But aloneness is something we welcome. It's the same thing, but it's just our mind makes this trick from one to the other. When we change it from a loneliness to be at alone time, everything is fine.
I just had this image of you creating this into a little YouTube short with like,
I
I
do
think
have a video on loneliness. Yes, I do have one on loneliness.
that's what I was being shown. Thank you. What have you found with your shares that was one of the spiritual laws that made more sense when you drew it? Which is there a particular one that stands out?
I think it's the overall situation about why we are here, the law of karma, and the law of cause and effect. I think the most important thing which I did never really find in the other path is the fact that I am a pure, perfect spirit being originally, which means I have, like the rest of us, fallen into materialism and negativity in a way, but I am at the essence a pure being, a loving being as an asset. It's not that I have to grow slowly from, let's say, from a toad to an animal, etc., to a monkey, to human beings, eventually become an angel. No, I have been what we may call an angel. And I've fallen. So in other words, I don't have to learn anything. I have just to remember everything. And it's much easier when I says, I've been there. I can go back there. It's much different than it says, I want to have reached all this mountain there. I've never been there. Will I ever make it? Yes, I will make it because I've been there. So that gave me a lot of confidence that I'm walking on my way back home. And I think everybody else is doing the same thing. We are all together bringing us home.
Yeah, beautiful. So beautiful. And I love that you've already done that. So, my other favorite is saying, what's the worst that can happen? What's
Yeah,
the worst
yeah.
that can happen? Because, when I started my podcast, people were like, "Hey, how'd you get this guest?" I asked. And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I just sent an email and I asked. The worst that could happen is they said no, thank you, or I got no response. So what's the difference? If it aligned, they said yes. And I did get a lot of no's, at the start. And that's okay too, because I used to have a coach and he said, see how many no's you can get. Because then when you get a yes, it'll feel amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, this is the thing. And even sometimes, I have a lot of clients and for myself where I say, well, play out the worst case scenario. What is the worst thing that can happen? And then you've already imagined that. And then what's the best that can happen? And if something happens in the middle, everything feels great because you're not doing the worst case scenario. So this is
I
how
would go
I
one step
do.
further.
Yes, go one step
What is the
further.
worst thing what can happen? And then ask and give me 3 reasons why this is the best thing. What is a good thing if out of the worst situation? What are the 3 positive things which can come out of it? So then immediately the negativity disappears when we try to find, because even a killing, a murder, a loss of job, a loss of partner, all these things have positive elements in it. All
You
of
have to
them.
find the
None of them,
blessing.
everything has a God spark in it. God is like the canvas about everything, on which everything is painted. And if we go to the canvas, if we go to the essence of every situation, the essence is always divinity. And if we find the divinity in the loss of a job, because it may bring us to another job, a loss of a partner, it maybe bring us to another partner, or maybe we have to be alone for a while. It's in all these negative situations we can imagine in our mind, our ego's mind, actually have a positive side, this silver lining basically around the cloud. And when we focus on that one and we ask, how can I benefit from that one? The negativity usually dissipates.
Yeah, which is beautiful. It's like finding the blessing in the unforgivable as well. That,
Yeah,
a lot of the time we go through these situations in life and people oh, I can never forgive them. Well, then you're just disempowering your life. If you can't find the forgiveness or find the good in that, then you're stopping you from expanding, not them. Like, or the situation or the event or whatever it was, you're giving their power still to them. This is what we've been so conditioned to believe, that you forgive and forget, right? But it's like, no, you forgive to take your power back.
yeah. Forgiveness we give to ourselves, and it's always the old-fashioned forgiveness. If you've done something wrong and I'm now will forgive you, I put myself above you. It's my ego. The whole forgiveness, as we are taught, is ego stuff. And it's
Mm.
to understand that the other person has never harmed me in the first place. That's fun. Then I come from a very different level, and I explained it in my video that it's radical forgiveness is the idea, to really understand that the other person has never done anything harmful to me. He has only helped me further on my evolution, whatever I had to go. To understand that, even if it's a painful situation, a horrible situation, but it is there what I needed to experience, because that was helping me for my next level.
Yeah. And then when you can find the blessing through that and see the gift that it gave you, and like you touched upon earlier, yes, you lost your job, but it allowed you to go into the new one, and so often I have clients come in and we talk about what they need to let go of because it's not serving them anymore. And then as soon as they do that, they'll get their dream opportunity or their dream partner or their dream place to live or whatever it is, but they have to let go of something first in order for it to allow that to come in, because energy is not created or destroyed, it's only transferred. And we just think we can keep opening up more and more and more. But it's like, actually, no, you have to let something be destroyed first, and
Yeah.
then it can recreate something new, like the phoenix.
Yeah, no, absolutely right.
Yeah. And the other question I have is, when you stepped more into your spiritual aspect and understanding death on the other side, what was something profound that came through?
What I told him, well, first of all, for somebody, imagine somebody who doesn't believe that life continues. First
Mm.
of all, it says, number one is there is no death. This is only a transition from the physical body, and the soul leaves the physical body, but you still have a body. It's an astral body, an ethereal body, similar like the present body. So that's something that's new to us to understand. Uh, in this new kind of appearance you are there, you also can't hide anything. Basically, you show who you are. You're also, unfortunately, taking all your vices, your ego, and so on still with you. It doesn't die with the body. So if you're a nasty person in this life, you probably are a nasty person on the other side too. But most of us will be meeting our spirit guide and also maybe loved ones who have died before and even pets to welcome us, which is probably, I would say, the majority. But that doesn't mean that we necessarily can see them if we don't want to see them, if we do not believe in them. I'm just making a new video on this one as well, on all the ghosts among us. These are basically spirit beings who have not accepted that they are dead, and they can become earthbound and walk amongst us. And these are millions and millions of souls who are among us, bound here to planet Earth because they still haven't accepted life. I mean, the best movie on this one is The Sixth Sense, which basically shows it marvelously. So there are a lot of these things, and I mentioned in a way, yeah, they're guided. Basically, what I say, just allow yourself to be guided by your guardian spirit. And there's a lot of stuff now on the internet. This was before my father, but is recently is don't go into the light, which is a trap and whatever. You probably heard that too. But definitely go into the light. Go into where the angels want you to go. Embrace it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
don't be a fool, because who would not then not do that? And besides, I also don't think you have much choice there. You will be drawn. If you listen to the many NDEs, the near-death experiences, they don't have a choice. It's, shall I go to the light? Shall I not go? They are drawn into the light. This light is so inviting. It is so loving. It is so powerful that I think we don't have much choice anyway. So surrender to the light and surrender to your guardian spirit, who will take you exactly where you need to be next. These are just a few of these things which I probably mentioned to him, and this was totally new to him, and he wouldn't. He says, this is sort of my voodoo stuff, but not for him. But when he was on the other side, he probably saw exactly as I told him, because these are not secrets. Any spiritual path says that. And this is not only from Gabriele. Anyone knows that, who knows about life after death.
Yeah, and I find a lot of the time it's religion puts these constraints on what we believe will happen once we pass. And because I've had souls show up at my house who were the earthbound and stuck. And
Mm.
sometimes I just need to have, and I literally open a portal, Hans, of light so they can go home. That's literally what I do. Right. But sometimes they're really stubborn about it. And sometimes they actually leave their inner child behind. It's so interesting. So I have to then reconnect them with their inner child because they've lost their childhood innocence. So they need to reconnect with that. But what's really interesting was I was working with this client and he actually passed, and his wife contacted me because that's how I started working with him. And she said, the family is saying if we don't get rid of all the belongings, then he won't move on. Like, I'm trapping him. And so they had young kids and everything. I said, no, that's not true. I said, he's here right now. He's just shaking his head. No, keep it. Keep my shirt. Keep it. It's fine. And she's like, really? And she goes, I really wish he was with me. I was like, he is with you right now. Like, he is with you right now. Like, he's there for you and the kids. Like, he is there. And sometimes from everything that I've learned from people that have come from, who have passed over and come forward, it's amazing how many are there just to go, hey, can you tell my loved one this, or can you pass this on, or because there's just something unfinished that they need to get across. Or like you said, they're the other end, where if they die, I find if they've passed dramatically, they don't know what to do. because it's like they have so much unfinished business. That is often when they get stuck as well. Or they have that religion component where they're like, oh, I did so much bad stuff. I can't go there. I'm going to go to hell. I personally don't believe in hell. I think hell is what we create. This is what we put in ourselves, because we are all made of God, like the essence of God. We're going to go back to God, whatever way that looks like. Exactly like you said, if you're bad, yeah, you've got to carry that karma on. It's your choice how your soul, but we've all got darkness in it. We've all got light. It's just finding that balance between the two.
Was the client of yours, was she Hindu? Because in
The family was, yes,
yeah,
the family
they
was. She
believe that
wasn't.
everything is, particularly the undergarments, have to be burned because of the vibration. Yes, that's why when you mention it, says this is a typical Hindu belief.
Yeah.
So of course, there is energy which can pull the soul and hold it back, but I don't think the clothing is much of that to necessarily bind its soul here to planet Earth. But it is, and I think I would still be careful wearing other people's clothes and so on, because
Yes.
you're taking on the energy. So yes, for that reason, I would say, well, it well, wash it well if anybody
Sage
else,
it.
yes, sage it, but that's another reason, but not because you hold the soul trapped.
Yeah. And it's interesting you bring that up, because so often people forget that if you go to an antique store or a vintage store, or even if you inherit something, you need to clear the energy of it, because sometimes it doesn't belong in your house and
I've got a
sometimes it
whole,
doesn't belong.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've got a video
exactly.
on that one, the
I
danger
love
of touch.
this. Yeah. Yeah. I know, because we were in a like a shop, and it had some things that have been restored and some older things. And my husband picked up like this old, like kind of saw, because he likes old tools, and a drill. And I said, that drill has really bad karma. You need to clear that. You can buy it, but you need to clear that. And he's like, really? I would have thought it was the saw. I said, no, the saw's fine. I said, but that drill? I don't know. Anyway, so we did. He brought it home and he like full saged it, and he put it in the sun, and he put like, crystals around. He just had to reset the energy of it, because we forget that. And me personally, I cannot walk into a op shop and buy things. I find it incredibly difficult. Sometimes I'll go in there with my son and we'll get books or things like that, and I'll sage them and everything when we take them home. But I find it really difficult to buy other people's clothing. And at first I thought it was my ego going, oh, you're just being a snob. And I'm like, no, it's because I'm so sensitive to energy. I cannot do that. I can't take that. So even my sister used to borrow my clothes when I was younger, and I'd get really angry. And I thought it was because she was taking my clothes, but I realized it was because then I would get the clothes back and it would have her energy.
Yeah, 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 but most of us don't know that. That's, I think it's a very powerful, everything is vibration, and
Yes,
everything we touch and everything has got, the vibration of the inventor even in this whole thing, or whatever object we hold in our hand. So, yeah, be careful what we touch.
100%. And as we start to finish our time together, Hans, I asked the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
If I could heal or change anything in the world, to understand that, I think I wish everybody would understand who they are, that they are actually love, and that's our true essence of who we are, and if we really understand that this is, that we are love, we probably wouldn't harm other people and ourselves so much. I think the essence, to know who they are, I think that would be probably the best way for people to recognize, wow, I am love. What does it mean? Unconditional, totally unlimited, all-inclusive love. I think that is something very powerful. And if we think this is my essence of who I am, I can take anything on.
Beautiful. Thank you. And if people want to find your videos or connect with you or come and find all your books, where's the best place that they can go?
Well, they can go to hanswilhelm.com, or they go to the YouTube channel and put in Hans Wilhelm. You find my channel there. Or all the videos are also on a special website called lifeexplained.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure to definitely include all those details in the show notes. So thank you, Hans, for sharing and bringing your beautiful visualizations of spiritual laws into the world, and all the spiritual teachings that you've gone through as well. And for anyone listening, if you enjoyed this, please connect and follow Hans on YouTube, and go go be curious and go learn some more about life. And also, if you like this, please like, share, or subscribe. I always love to hear feedback too. If there's any episodes you would like to see, or I will go find that guest. I would love to do that. So thank you so much, Hans. I really appreciated our conversation, and I appreciate the work that you're doing as well. Thank you so much.
Same from here. Much love to Australia.
My Virtual Obsession, my romantic thriller, is now available on Amazon and other online retailers. This book explores the intersection of loneliness, love, and how chasing perfection through technology can lead to fantasy and reality colliding. My Virtual Obsession out now.
Hey, beautiful souls. It is Catherine Crestani here, and I wanted to have a chat with you about a really amazing cacao that I drink to help me get in ceremony, to help me ground, but also just because it tastes freaking good. So if you're curious and want to know about drinking something other than coffee or your standard tea, why not check out Creation Cacao? I love this with a bit of honey and cinnamon sprinkled in and just letting it brew and having that whole intention as you create this cup. So if you're curious and want to know more, check out the link in the show notes and in the bio and enjoy your cup of cacao.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.